Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon review for tonight's match review of Newcastle United 1, Man City 1. As usual, if you do enjoy the show tonight, guys, give it the thumbs up. And, of course, if you're new, hit the subscribe button. Free to do so. And make sure you hit that bell that lets you know when we upload any videos or we go live. Of course, you can support the channel in both ways, as usual. First is by membership, which is the join button just underneath me in Stato. And, of course, Super Chats, which is the $ underneath the live chat. And that will guarantee your comments to be read out on the show. Now, I do owe everybody an explanation as to why we're going on at 8:30 on a Sunday evening instead of 7. It's not exactly midnight, so it is 8:30, but we had a bit of an emergency in the Ditchburn Johnson household. Susan was taken ill. She collapsed last night. Was okay after that, but had more pain in her back this morning. So we've been in A&E since about 10:15 this morning, and we only got out at around 7 tonight. She's okay. They found out what the problem is, and it's she's got kidney stones in both kidneys. So she's allowed to come home now on painkillers, etc., and is awaiting an appointment with the urology department. So, yeah, not a great day for us, but, you know, the main thing is that Susan is okay, and she's an absolute trooper, and love it a bit, and she, as usual, just got on with it. I know I've suffered from kidney stones. They are not very nice at all. But she's been back and forward to the doctors with what they've called kidney infections on numerous occasions. And finally, they did a CT scan on her today and found the stones. So she'll pull through. She is a battler. And Susan, love you to bits. You're just an absolute angel and a star and a warhorse. Just brilliant to get through that today. So well done. And she will be fine. A warhorse, absolutely.
I'm not sure if she'll be happy about that.
She will. A warhorse is a good thing, Alex. It's a gladiator, and that's exactly what she is. So you know, she just anything in front of her, just deal with it, and she's now resting up, and hopefully urology will be able to sort the rest of the problem out. So apologies again for going out late, but I'm sure you can understand why. We did want to get the review out tonight. We got home and me and Alex had a bit of a message saying, yeah, let's get it done tonight, because obviously we've got the Wimbledon preview tomorrow and, of course, the Wimbledon game on Tuesday. So lots to get into with that. But good evening, Alex.
Good evening.
Well, I mean, that was better, wasn't it? I mean, if you were asking for a response, boy, oh boy, did we get it.
Yeah, I mean, so the lead up to that game, I was quite, not pessimistic, but I wanted to see a response in certain areas of the performance and our performance as a whole. And I'm sure a lot of you are sick of hearing the list, but we needed to improve defensive corners, attacking set pieces. Our defensive transitions were non-existent. Trying to get it up top to stick, a bit of pressing and intensity, a bit of desire, not panicking a bit too much on the ball, not overusing Pope in build-up because he's bad with his feet. There were 8, 9, 10, 11 different things that were going wrong. You know, the space in front of the back four, there was so much of it that was misfiring. And then just generally our better players just not in great form as well. So we needed. I wasn't optimistic that we could fix all of those things all at once, but seemingly Eddie Howe's had a fantastic week of training, and we did everything I've just listed. I've listed off. I felt like was a lot better against Man City. We ticked all of those boxes, so
Absolutely.
they can do it. They do know what they're doing. It's just been a bit of a weird period, seemingly. So for all of us that were doubting him as a coach and doubting the players, they have managed to fix a lot of those issues. So maybe we were over analysing. Maybe some of the journalists, it was a little bit too fear-mongery, because in 1 week we've managed to eliminate a lot of those issues. Are they permanently gone? We'll see. But if we can keep doing that, we've seen that performance now, so we know we've got a level. We can do it. So it's about maintaining that now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure what this comment means. You tell more lies than Tom Pepper. Who, me or Alex? Or was it not a good response? Or are you talking about what happened, why we're late? Explain yourself, David, because if you explain why more lies than Tom Pepper, then if you're calling me a liar, come and say it to me face, pal, because I've had an awful day. So
who's Tom Pepper? Does he lie?
But clearly, I'm not sure who this David's replying to, but clearly, if you're calling me a liar, come and say it to me face, pal. Anyway, let's move on. Now, there was times, Alex, during the game that we were trying things and it didn't come off. And I've seen a lot of comments again on social media, and I've had a lot of time to scroll through social media today. And it seemed to me like a lot of people saying, oh, Murphy wasn't good enough, or Joelinton still wasn't good enough. I think we have to take at face value what Murphy offers us, right? Murphy is not going to, he's not a world-class footballer, but what he did yesterday was cover every sodden blade of grass possible. Yes, some of his final balls were poor, and he was annoyed with himself, you could tell. However, I'm not looking at any one of those 11 players or anybody that played yesterday. Well, maybe some of the subs we'll talk about, but that start 11, Alex, gave everything for that football club yesterday, and nobody is going to get criticism from me for yesterday. It was a fantastic approach to the game and a fantastic performance. It was a good game of football, actually.
It was, yeah. And I strangely enough, completely agree with your assessment of Murphy and several other players. I think certain fans need to realise that the window is closed and we need to use the players available to us. Murphy has a standard generally. We see him in sort of two levels of consistency. There are games where he steps up and he looks like he could belong as a first teamer. And then there are games where he's just inconsistent, poor decision making, poor passing. He seems to have those two gears. And yesterday was one of those gears where he was in gear 5. He understood exactly what was expected of him. But people can't be expecting him to play like a Champions League level footballer all the time. He's not going to ping in 4, 5, 6 world-class crosses a game. He's not that guy, and we can't. It's no point. There's no point in over criticizing somebody when that is their level. I thought, considering what his level is, he tries to exceed that as much as possible. You can see he's in fantastic physical shape. He'll play anywhere you put him, and he will try and listen to the shape and the instructions, and he will work his socks off. And that's all you can ask, because we didn't buy a right winger. It's not Jacob Murphy's fault that we didn't buy a right winger. Like, he's trying his best with the team that he supports and he loves. So I thought he did very well. Fine margins in these crosses. But
the Joelinton one puzzled me, Alex, because being live at the game yesterday, I just saw Joelinton become beast mode again. Now, yes, there was a couple of times that he didn't realise that a player was behind him, or he didn't get a shout, whatever it was, and Man City pinched the ball off him. But how many times Joelinton got absolutely stuck in and sticking up for his teammates? He was battling, he was winning the ball. That was the Joelinton that we've all loved for a long time now. Now, yes, was he at the perfect pinnacle of his game yesterday? No. But he was enough for me, and the beast mode in Joelinton was back, and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. Like, he is going to have those 2 or 3 moments where he's not scanning as much, or maybe the touch is a little heavy, or the pass is a little bit overhit, and I think he's not a title-winning player. And we need to stop expecting of certain players. Like, there are arguably a few players in this team that are good enough to lift a title. Like, title winning, Bruno, maybe Isak if he keeps fit and progresses a bit more physically. There's an argument to be made that Botman could be if he keeps progressing. Is anybody likely to progress into a title-winning player?
Yeah.
Wow, that's massive up in the air maybes. So I think we're expecting too much from people. Is Joelinton good enough to be in a side challenging for European football? Absolutely. Of course he is. He's combative, he's destructive, he wins second balls, he's physical, and he did a very important job. I mean, we'll talk about that when we get on to talk about Joelinton specifically, but the dropping into the defence and letting Bruno and Tonali do something a bit different together. You know, he is what he is. He's not going to scan as perfectly as Bruno is, and that he's not going to have as silky first touch as Bruno, but he offers a lot more physically than some of the other players. And people have got to start understanding what the players' qualities are. We can't over criticize people for, you know, like Nick Pope. There's no point in us continually slagging off his footwork. It is what it is.
I mean, that save yesterday.
It is what it is.
That save yesterday was
at
the time of the game, it was, Alex. You know. I mean, I know Edison pulled off a great save just before half time from Big Joe. But you know, the crucial saves that Nick Pope makes in times of the game. I mean, is it always heart in the mouth when the ball rolls back to Nick Pope? Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. And you can feel that in the ground. You can feel when a back pass comes to Nick Pope and somebody's charging him down, especially Haaland. You know, there's a sort of a big sigh inside of St. James's Park. But listen, we know his kicking's a weakness, right? Is that going to get any better at his age now? Probably not. However, you know, what he does offer is his incredible shot stopping, which has won us points this season already. I mean, you know, Bernardo Silva turning and hit that. He had no time to react. Yet his reflexes were superb at a time in the game where had City scored there, it was over because we weren't going to get back into it. But look, the fact of the matter is, it was after we scored that penalty, we battered them for 20 minutes. We completely battered them for the first 20 minutes of that second half, and the champions were rattled. They were rattled for 20 minutes in that first part of the second half. And it was the atmosphere was electric in that 20 minutes. And you felt something was coming. And then had Longstaff put that chance away instead of screwing it wide, I think we would have obviously won the game. But look, you cannot fault yesterday's performance because we all wanted a response and we got the response. But I have to shout out to Lewis Hall, Alex, because I was surprised Lewis Hall was in the starting lineup yesterday. I thought he'd have gone with Kelly. But Lewis Hall was sensational yesterday.
He was, yeah. I mean, what you were saying there about us being dominant after sort of the goal and the early stages of the second half.
Yeah.
Completely agree. For anybody watching who maybe didn't watch the game yesterday, maybe you've only watched Match of the Day highlights or online highlights, they omitted all of that. But there was a long period of time in that second half where they could not get the ball off us. They could not get near us. We were winning every second ball, every first ball, every pass was clean. They couldn't break us down. They were just kicking out for throw-ins by accident, and they were very, very rattled. It was a time where Gundogan wasn't working particularly well in midfield with them, with Lewis and Kovacic. They were very, very rattled, and they needed a change. And it was the Phil Foden substitution that managed to get them a bit more control of that game. It required a substitution from them to take the game back because we had it at that point. And obviously they made that Foden change and we were getting a little bit more tired. You can see that Tonali wasn't able to finish the game. His race was completely run. So maybe Eddie is a lot cleverer than some people give him credit for. The fact that Tonali wasn't able to finish that game shows that, you know, even though he wasn't playing for such a long time and he should be ready, it does take you a long time to get up to. You know, we're asking him to play for Italy twice and then play against the champions. Like, it's a high level. Like, you've got to get up to being able to smash it at the 90 minutes. And you led on there to talking about Lewis Hall. That's a prime example of it. I was unimpressed by his lack of being able to finish a game recently. I was critical of that. However, it is what it is. It looks like he's a little bit fitter because of that. You've got to get minutes in the tank. It's how it works. And he's young as well. I had higher expectations of Lewis Hall because he had a heavy involvement in pre-season. So I thought he was going to be up to speed a bit quicker, but he's young. It is what it is. But he was fantastic. Some of the intricate passing yesterday, decision-making, him and Bruno both got out of tight areas, and he was a good a good outlet. We were able to actually progress the ball and play out from the back on that left-hand side because of how careful Lewis Hall is. He always picks the right. Well, I say he always picks the right pass, not always, but against the champions, he's able to play out basically. Yeah. And we've struggled quite a lot to play out, especially when Byrne's been at left back. We can't get out. Lewis Hall allows us that, and he was fantastic yesterday as well.
I mean, there was a couple of times he looked like he was stuck in the corner, especially in the second half, that he was pinned back in the corner and managed to sometimes play out himself when he had 2 or 3 Manchester City players around him. The confidence of the kid is incredible. Wacky makes a good point here. Deepest condolences to the family of the West Brom fan who passed away at the Sheffield Wednesday game yesterday. Absolutely. You know, football is a community, and you just don't want to hear that kind of thing happening in the football ground. Deeply, deeply saddened, and thoughts are with the family. Absolutely. A couple of super chats come in. Mark the Celt, pissing myself laughing. Man United got beat. How sad. Never mind. Kieran, thank you for yours. Just joined the Facebook Toon Review group today. Just wanted you to know. Thank you very much, Luke. Kieran, I do apologise. Luke sent in a super chat. Lewis Hall dealt with the City press like a pro. And Chi, who we know as Typhoon on this channel, we haven't seen you for a while, matey. Thank you for your super chat. Look how Howe had placed Joelinton between Hall and Byrne as a back five to stop Gundogan and Lewis exploiting the space. They were there when we were defending. It was brilliant. Yeah, I noticed that Joelinton played certainly second half went a lot deeper into a kind of back five defending. And that's where, you know, for me, Joelinton absolutely stood out. Barbara, thanks for renewing your membership. Really kind. Thank you for your support. He was just immense. But you have to shout out Dan Byrne as well, Alex, because, you know, he just rushed Haaland. I don't know whether it came across on the TV. I think towards the end of the game, he had a header that, I mean, he hardly
very tame
went straight to Nick Pope, and he sort of swung his foot in a kicking action. The frustration kicked in, and because Dan Byrne just marshalled him the whole game.
Yeah, so it confuses me how Eddie Howe can seemingly do something as bad as that game against Fulham and then have such a masterclass that he delivered yesterday. And again, Dan Byrne was allowed to do what he did because of the Joelinton positioning. It's a similar vibe to what we did with Elliot Anderson last year. There was a game against Spurs when he kind of dropped in as a wing back and sometimes central and then sometimes pressing out as a midfielder. Joelinton played a kind of, it was a variation of that yesterday. And it works so well. Sometimes it was wide to cover Bernardo Silva in the space, hugging the touchline. Sometimes he went a bit more central, depended on what the situation was, or where they were originally standing when they lost the ball, or whatever the situation was. But that allowed Dan Byrne to focus a bit more on Haaland. And he absolutely pocketed him yesterday. And I think, again, we've talked about this for probably the last 12 to 18 months now. And I've been beating this drum for a long time, saying that a lot of people need to stop slagging Dan Byrne off, that he needs to be sold. There's nothing wrong with keeping Dan Byrne because he's appropriate against certain opposition and in certain games. In the same way that the Cells has done similar for us in the past. You need variety in your squad and you need different weapons. There's nothing wrong with, like, Dan Byrne is a Geordie. He'll play for us if I don't think he would leave if we don't play him all the time. I think he'd probably stay. I could be wrong, but there's nothing wrong with just having Dan Byrne. Like when Botman's back and fit and firing, it's Botman, but Dan Byrne's fantastic as a backup.
As a squad member, absolutely.
And
if he could just, I don't know, improve his dominance in the other penalty area when we're attacking. Given his size and his bulk, he should be doing better.
I think for his age, he can improve that because that's practice and timing and stuff, isn't it? Maybe the passing,
his timing's just off, and that's why Billy mentioned sort of a 50 pence head, because he goes up and heads it at the wrong time and it ends up skewing away. A couple more super chats. Peter Garthwaite, thank you. Do you think Eddie will start the same team at Everton, or do you think he will revert to type and pick his favourites? Well, we'll talk about that when we come to do the Everton preview on Thursday. But I have a feeling things will he got a good taste of what we can do when he's got a really good side out, put it that way. Simon Yorkshire, thank you for your super chat. Best wishes to Susan. Thank you very much. Delighted by the performance. It makes such a difference to my working week when we get a positive weekend result. He thinks Gordon's man of the match. Right, well, we better put that poll up, Alex, because we've forgotten.
This is going to be horrible, though.
It is, yeah. We've got 2 players each to do, so we'll do you, then me, then you, then me again. So, player of the match. So, who is your first pick, Alex?
Right, we'll go easy. Anthony Gordon has to be in the mixer, so we'll go with the dead certain.
Okay. I am going to go with. Let me see. His name's completely gone out my mind, Alex.
Position?
Left back?
Lewis Hall.
What the hell? Lewis Hall? Jesus. I do apologise. That is my illness, guys. Sometimes things go out of my head and I can't get them back. Lewis Hall. Next one, Alex.
Jeez, that's a real tough one. I'm gonna go with. I'll go with Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno's a good shout because I thought he was much better yesterday. Back to his dominating best.
I think there's not much in it between him and a couple of others, but the fact that he did the pass for Gordon to then get the penalty,
he did. It was a brilliant.
He's got to be in the mixer because of
that. The final one is for me. I'm putting Dan Burn in the mix. Because I think he deserves to be there. So there it is. That's the poll. It is up on the screens now, ladies and gentlemen. Who is your player of the match from yesterday? You've got Anthony Gordon, Lewis Hall, Bruno, and Dan Burn. It's a very difficult one for you guys to pick. I don't envy any of yous voting there. It's a very, very difficult pick today, but there you go. It's always good when, last week we couldn't find one to even put a poll up. We couldn't find a player. So, this week, completely different. Norvik, who's been a member for 33 months. Thank you, Norvik, for your incredible support. And, of course, one of our mods. Get well, Susan. Going to have a much better week ahead than last week after Fulham. Indeed. It's always good, especially when you win at lunch. I hate the lunchtime kickoffs, Alex, if I'm openly honest. It felt very strange, seeing the lads warming up, coming out for warm-ups at 10
I didn't mind it.
I don't think the players like it. I think it just goes all over the place. Now, obviously, we're going to come on to player ratings very shortly, but I have to mention Pep Guardiola, Alex, because this man just oozes class, just simply oozes class. The comments before the game about Newcastle United, very, very kind comments, saying that it's one of the most difficult games of the season, both home and away, to play against Newcastle United. And then after the game, I mean, normally you get managers twisting on certain decisions. Not once did Pep twist about any decision. He just said it was a fantastic game of football. Newcastle deserved everything they got from the game. And he was so complimentary. It's just such a breath of fresh air for a manager like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably seen the replay of the penalty before he's gone to do the interview. So he's probably changed his mind there. He was very complimentary. He's extremely complimentary of Eddie and what we try and do. And I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, maybe he didn't realize how bad the Fulham game was. Of course he did, because of course they would have been well prepared for that. But they know, I think they're aware that teams like to play up against them because it's a big, difficult game. It's something we're going to have to start getting used to now. It's something we've already kind of started to taste, unfortunately. When we were steamrolling teams a couple of years ago, teams then adapted to that.
I always think he's got a soft spot for us, though, Alex, because of obviously Sir Bobby. I think he's got a real soft spot. Yeah,
he will do. Well, of course, him and Mourinho, he was the godfather, wasn't he?
He was. Andy says, I'll give it to Lewis Hall. Great performance, but after an up and down start of the season, he needed it. Worry about him defensively, but solid yesterday and some lovely touches when playing out. Look, we have to, again, Alex, I think we just have to come to the realization that Lewis Hall is still very raw, and he's going to get better and better and better. And the standard he's at now is very exciting for us as Newcastle fans to see him just continually improve. We have to expect mistakes.
Yeah, his age. This is exactly what we said at the start of the season. When we did the season preview, I made a point of saying, look, Livramento and Lewis Hall are going to start being integrated this year. They are going to make a lot of mistakes, and we're going to have to be. Of course, we can be frustrated with that and critical at times, but you also have to be smart and realize that they're young. And on the flip side, the more experienced players might make mistakes due to lack of pace and other reasons. Whereas when you're younger, you might make mistakes because you've just misread the situation, or you've done something silly, or you're out of position. It happens. Lewis Hall's he's gonna do more things wrong for the rest of this season. We're gonna have to be ready for that, as is Livramento. But you can see that the quality they've got, that they are going to be good enough. I mean, they're arguably good enough now. Lewis Hall started and he was fantastic. He'd got Lewis and Silva on that side. Fine. Joelinton was helping out, but he'd still got a lot to deal with yesterday. And I'm just excited for his technical quality, because I feel like he's a mini Kieran Trippier in that way. He's not quite got the range that Kieran's got. Although we did see a lot of it in preseason, but they were easier games in preseason. So its technical level is, I think far higher than people realize. I still believe that Lewis Hall is the most technical player in this squad, only behind Bruno. I think technique wise, I think he's better than Isak. And when I say that, I don't mean about step overs and dribbling. I mean, if you say boo and throw a ball at him, he'll chest it, knee it, he'll do whatever. He just seems like he's got that. He was born with the ball at his foot. He's that kind of guy.
Absolutely. A couple of people mentioned in the media trying to say that City were down because of their injuries, and we took advantage of that. But don't listen to them. Did Pep come out yesterday and say, "Oh yeah, if we'd had De Bruyne or if we had Rodri, we would have won the game"? Absolutely not. He didn't, because he knows we didn't have a proper striker on the pitch either. So it balances out. Manchester City have an abundance of riches to bring in when they get injuries. We had to put Anthony Gordon as a striker yesterday, who, by the way, ran his heart out yesterday. And when he kissed the badge after his penalty, the place went mental.
Did you see Bruno try to kiss Anthony Gordon's badge?
Yeah, it was mental. There was just a huge, the corner of that ground was, the whole ground was going mental. But look, Anthony Gordon did what he could do yesterday, and he did it for me. I mean, the closing down of Ederson, the pace Anthony Gordon showed to get to the goal. I mean, there was once he almost got there and it almost went in. He just tremendous work rate yesterday, but it was from everybody. Now, obviously, we'll come on to the player ratings in a second, so get ready for that, guys, because I want to know if you agree with myself and Alex on these, because they will go into the little graph for the end of the season, of course, to see who is, the season's performances. But I just want to quickly touch on the penalty incidents yesterday, Alex. Every single one of them was in front of me, and very, very close to me. I cannot believe that the Kyle Walker one on Joelinton was not a penalty. I've seen it numerous times on replays. I thought it when I was there live. It's clearly a penalty. Now, a lot of people have said that he didn't give the penalty because he'd just given Newcastle a penalty, but that shouldn't even come into it, should it? It's a penalty.
Yeah, I think the second one on Joelinton is a penalty. I think he steps across him.
Yep.
And it brings him down, and he doesn't get the ball. I think it is a penalty. I think if we hadn't just received a penalty minutes before, it would have been given. And again, it's one of those situations where, because the referee's not given it, it's a little bit soft for VAR to try and force it overturn, because of all the controversy and scandals that have happened in the last couple of seasons. VAR are trying to be a bit more, they don't want to get in the headlines all the time. But yeah, the first one, there is contact on Gordon. Again, you don't have a God-given right to just expect the striker to jump over every single goalkeeper. Like, he did leap a little bit, but if they're going to rush out at you and miss the ball, that's their problem. If they're going to bring you down, it's a penalty every day of the week. And Shearer apparently didn't think that was a penalty, according to Gary Lineker.
I find it bizarre.
Maybe he's not seen the replays properly, but there is contact. It's a penalty. It doesn't matter. Look, that's not an interpretation. The thing is, Alex, is the law.
Absolutely. If you're a goalkeeper and you commit, right? Ederson committed himself. Now, once Gordon knocks the ball past him, Edison becomes an obstruction that Anthony Gordon can't get out the way of. So he's obstructing Anthony Gordon, which is a penalty. And I think that at the end of the day, that's why VAR gave it, because he made his move. Gordon knocked the ball around him.
And then the referee gave it as well. So
exactly. He becomes an obstruction. And Anthony Gordon's not at liberty to get out the way. If he's blocking Anthony Gordon, Gordon's got every right to go over because he's blocking his route. It was a clear penalty. Ian Fleming, thank you for your super chat. A great performance yesterday. Hope we keep it up. Samsonite Dove has gifted a Toon Review membership. Thank you, buddy. And Buddy Love, who's been a member now for 27 months. Thank you very much for your support. Had our energy levels back yesterday. Absolutely, we did. Now, the Harvey Barnes one, Alex, I mean, it was clumsy again from the Man City defender. It was just clumsy. I'm not saying it was definitely a penalty, but I've seen them given before because it was just clumsy.
I mean, I don't want to see those given because I wouldn't want to see that given against us. So
possibly
the
not.
First two,
when we're 1-0 down, Alex, you'll scream for anything, mate.
Oh, yeah, well, agreed. But after the fact, yeah, I don't want to see that kind of foul given because I would be furious if we got a penalty against us in the same situation. Yeah. But the Gordon and the Joelinton one, yes, I think they're penalties. They both are. But the Barnes one, no, that would have been extremely soft.
Right, let's do the player ratings, guys. And of course, we'll announce the viewers' man of the match at the end of the show. But let's see what your player ratings are. Do you agree with us? We'll start with Nick Pope, Alex.
Well, it's so difficult to mark him. We always basically give him just a marginally positive mark because he's great with his saves and then he's awful with his feet. So I always end up giving him about a 7. It would be higher if he didn't do silly things like he did yesterday. You know, coming out when he shouldn't have come out and then passing it. If you're going to come out that far, your pass has to be bang on, Nick. It absolutely, you can't be doing that. We don't want any Sanchez.
I mean, there was once he came out in the first half, Alex, and he basically came right out of his box to clear a through ball and then passed it straight. I think it was Gundogan, and then Gundogan tried to lob him.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, he can't be doing that in the Premier League.
No,
you can't be. And fine, we're saying maybe he's too old to improve in that side of his game. I would argue that I've got my expectation of him is to improve in that area because it's simply not good enough. It's not. I don't think his footwork and distribution is Premier League quality at this point. I think it's poor. Yeah. You know, when you look at how good the Ipswich keeper was today, I've forgotten his name, but he was fantastic. You know, you can't have that level of footwork as a Premier League goalkeeper. But then he's pulling out in terms of his shot stopping. It's Champions League level, so it's just ridiculous the disparity between his qualities.
It's crazy.
I've
never known a goalkeeper like it.
And there has to be a highlight for him challenging the Erling Haaland ball in the box and punching it away. Because I tell you now, Dubravka does not go for that. He does not have the bravery to fight.
Yeah, 100%. He did get a massive ovation for that as well in the ground, and rightly so. I've gone for an 8. And I've gone for an 8 because of the mainly because obviously his shot stopping. I think, that save against Bernardo Silva yesterday, he didn't know where Bernardo Silva was going to hit that because Bernardo Silva had his back to goal. He didn't have a clue where that direction was going. It could have gone to his left. It could have gone to his right. But to react in that time, and I think he deserves an 8 because he's won us some vital points this season, Nick Pope. And as I say, had Silva scored there, it was game over for me. So again, he's got us points when we were up against it towards the end of the game. City came back into it second half. We then defended very deep. We defended very well, but we could have been caught there. I have to take my hat off. A lot of 7s to 9s coming in for Nick Pope, actually. So kind of in the same ballpark as us, Alex. Right, Kieran Trippier. For me, Trippier, look, I think he was unlucky against Grealish. I don't know if it came across on the TV very well, but when they scored, Alex, Trippier went in to tackle Grealish and he got the ball and it rebounded off the shins of Grealish, and Grealish was able to keep on running. That's, it wasn't a sort of mistimed tackle or anything. He won the ball and it was just a lucky ricochet. But I think there's still nothing there from set pieces when Trippier takes it. Lewis Hall put some brilliant corners in yesterday from the other side. But Trippier's again, he's floating them all the way at the back post, or he can't beat the first man. So many. Haaland just picked them off left, right, and centre, especially in the first half. But I think he was sound, not outstanding, but I think he was sound. So I've gone with a 7.
I'm going to go with a 9. I'm going to go higher for Kieran Trippier.
Wow!
Purely because I think that his influence on that game in the leadership qualities was so needed.
Yeah,
we needed it with a bit more stability and leadership. I don't blame him for the goal at all. If you've got a winger running at you 10 times a game, if he beats you once, they're going to beat you at some point. You're not going to win every single 50-50 when they try and go around you. And I don't think his set pieces were poor. I liked the fact that we switched up our corners. The left-hand side corners were in-swingers from Lewis Hall. The right-hand side were in-swingers from Kieran Trippier. We had 5 corners in that match, only in the first half. I don't think they were poor. I thought all 5 were okay. They were better.
Alex, I just thought hard. I mean, we can agree to disagree on that anyway. It doesn't really matter.
If he puts it into the right area.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if they're putting it into the right area, that's down to the players in the box. I don't
think he did. That's the thing. Sitting, where I do where I sit now, and I get a good view of the corners. And for me, Haaland just picked them off too easy when they were coming in from that side. But look, I think you mentioned the leadership quality, and you're damn right on that, because there was a few times that players were clashing. Grealish a couple of times with a few players.
He stopped everything boiling over
right in the middle to kill it off before it even got to a stage where he was pushing Joelinton away, he was pushing Tonali away. And I think that's the kind of leader that you need on the pitch. Just to squash everything.
Well, that's why I've given him a 9. I've gone higher because of that. And let's not forget, he set the tone of that game by getting in behind in their box with the first action of the game. He was in straight away. He set the tone for that match, and he was setting standards. Yeah. We needed that, because as much as we love Bruno doesn't do that. He's a lovely man, and he's a fantastic footballer.
Well, many people are actually saying that in the chat, to be fair.
But Kieran Trippier will say, right, this is the level today. You all do as you're told, and you bugger off. You don't speak to the ref. Kieran Trippier is a proper leader on the pitch. Bruno might grow into that, but at the moment, it's Kieran Trippier.
Look, Trippier for me, he's got that. He's not afraid to bollock anybody, and he's not afraid to put an arm around somebody when it's needed, and that's the kind of leader you need. Lewis Hall, Alex.
I think he deserves great credit, to be fair, because he had to put up with Savinho coming on as a substitute as well. Nothing overly dangerous happened on that side. Of course, he did have the support from Joelinton, but he linked up really well with Bruno to get out of trouble, to play out from the back. I'm going to go with an 8. And again, I think that's a little bit inflated. I think it's a bit generous of me, but based on the fact that last game he couldn't see out the match, we had to put him up front because he cramped up so much. He was making positional mistakes. He was a little bit lacking pace. Against Man City, no problems at all. He was brilliant. So I'll go with
I don't think you've overinflated, because I've given him a 9, Alex. I thought he was sensational. That's the best I've seen Lewis Hall play for us, to be honest. I thought he was outstanding. And what I really like is his composure. And if that's going to get better and better as he grows into the role and he grows as a person and a player as a left back, he's going to be sensational, because his composure there, where Man City were, and I mentioned it earlier on in the show, pressing him into the corner, and somehow he finds his way out. I just thought he's got that ability. He's got that mentality.
Level.
Yeah,
a few people were questioning me. Well, they were saying that I've rated Lewis Hall too high technically, and Tonali's better. And I'm on about a different kind of technique. Tonali's got the scan rate and the audacious timing and moving into space, and he's a slow motion footballer. It just looks like he's playing a different game to everyone else.
Yeah,
Lewis Hall is different. I feel like you could throw a golf ball at Lewis Hall, and he just starts doing keepy uppies with it.
Yeah,
he's just got that natural ability with the ball. It's a very different kind of. I don't mean the same. I think we've got different definitions of technique, but yeah, no, I agree with you. He was getting pressed. He was wriggling out of trouble. He was reading the game well. He was a little bit quicker. It was fantastic.
A few super chats. Dan Robinson, thank you, mate. Evening all a bit late, but hope everyone is okay. A point to us and Man United get battered. A solid weekend. Thanks for the song, Paul. Appreciate it. You're welcome, mate. No problem. Michael McIntyre, thank you for your super chat. Hi, all. What a weekend. Toon. And Jens, thank you for yours. We should look at the keeper from Rosenborg called Tangvik. Incredible match today. Shot-stopping reflexes and footwork. Just wow, insane. I don't think goalkeepers are necessarily where we need to be right now. I'm
they will be. They actually are next season. In the summer, we need a new goalkeeper.
Summer. Yeah, but not now. Okay, let's move on to Dan Burn. And I have given Dan Burn a 9. I thought he was just sensational yesterday. The way he kept Haaland quiet. And what I loved, Alex, is, I don't know how this came across on TV, but goal kicks and things like that. Haaland was trying to out-battle him. And so many times, Hall ended up just throwing him on the floor, saying, you are not getting the better of me. And he had the strength to just wrestle. And Haaland is a big man. And Dan Burn just stood up to him brilliantly yesterday. So absolutely fantastic performance.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if we're rating him on traditional ratings, he gets like an 8 or maybe a 9. But I'm gonna give him a 10 as a special TTR rating purely because of who he was against.
Because I won't disagree with you, Alex. I'm not disagreeing with you, mate.
If we're rating just his performance, it's like an 8. Yeah. Maybe if you're really generous, it's a 9. Yep. But I'm going with a 10 because he's marking Erling Haaland, who has got 10 goals in the league and is not. This was the first game he's not scored.
Have you seen Haaland's record against Newcastle? It's terrible.
He's not very good at against us. Jamal Lascelles normally keeps him quiet as well. Yeah. Well, because Eddie normally puts a big guy up against him and just says, you follow him. And it works a treat. So I'm going to give him a 10 out of 10 purely because he had a fantastic game, just generally, and because of who he was marking specifically, that he'd stopped arguably the best striker in the world. I mean, it's either him and Mbappe, and they're very different players, aren't they? So a 10 purely because of that. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to his defensive partner, Fabian Schär.
Harder one to mark, that one.
Yeah.
He didn't have a bad game, but he needed to find his range. I think in the first, God, I'm losing my voice already, and we've not even started Monday yet. Sorry, guys. So I think he needed to find his passing range. A couple of long balls, a little bit overhit in the opening stages, but he did find his range. He was cool, calm. He didn't get pushed around either. He was, a couple of scraps with Grealish and stuff. And we need people to be strong like that. And we needed him. We needed everybody to step up. We talked about this pre-match that we needed everyone to concentrate and everyone to kind of step up. And Fabian Schär goes through the ebbs and flows where he's a leader and then he disappears and he's silly. And then he's a leader again and then he's silly again. And yesterday was an example of where he was a leader again. He was nice and strong, reliable, dependable. We got good passing range from him. And it was really, really solid. So hopefully the red card was the silly bit. And now we can get some good performances out of Fabian for a while.
Yeah. What you give him?
I haven't even given him a number, have I? I'll go with I mean, the goal did come through his side. I'll go with a 7.5.
Okay. I've gone with a 7 for many of the same reasons, Alex. Some of his passing yesterday was nothing short of shocking, his long balls. But then again,
early stages weren't great.
And then he's hit across to sort of Barnes diagonally, brilliant balls. There was a few loose balls yesterday, but again, it was much better than what he put in against Fulham. It was a much better display from Fabian Schär, looking like the old Schär again. So a lot, to be honest, the chat have pretty much agreed. They've all gone 6, 7s, a couple of 8s in there, but mainly 7s and 7.5s. So yeah, it just a little bit strange. A hard one to mark yesterday because he certainly didn't have the bad sort of Fabian Schär attitude that we sometimes see in a particular game like he did against Fulham. I thought he was much better. Okay, let's move on to Bruno. Bruno was much better yesterday. Bruno was back to the Bruno. The fight in Bruno yesterday was back to his best. I'm not saying that he as like a footballer back to his best, but his tenacity and work rate and everything was there to see. His desire to win the game. I thought Bruno was definitely a couple of steps up than what we've seen him this season. I've given him an 8. I thought he was excellent yesterday. Alex?
I'm going to go with a 9.
Okay.
Because he was one of my man of the match nominations. I think he was absolutely fantastic. I think without Rodri, he was the best midfielder on that pitch yesterday by a country mile. There was about a 15-minute period where Tonali turned it on, but across the entire 90, Bruno was the best midfielder on that pitch. And to say that when you've got Kovacic on there, Gundogan, Rico Lewis, and Foden came on, Bruno was clear of everyone. He basically received the ball from I think it was Joelinton quite deep, and he had got two players on him in the midfield, and he spanned both of them and just drove into space, found Anthony Gordon's bent run, played him through, which got us the penalty. That was Bruno, specifically Bruno, that got us that. And he deserves the credit for it. He's not going to get assist in the data for it, but it's as good as an assist. 9 out of 18 ground duels again against Man City is impressive. He completed all 4 of his 4 attempted dribbles. He was just really impressive. He got to do Bruno things a bit more. I think he had a bit more stability.
You know what I think the difference was, Alex, that he wasn't trying to do yesterday, as he wasn't trying to be too flash. He wasn't trying to do amazing things every time he got the ball. For me, Bruno is better when he just keeps things simple with the odd bit of Bruno skills, and I thought he did that to a T yesterday.
There were a couple of moments that I didn't like, and he's got a couple of bad habits in his game that I'm sure the coaches aren't thrilled with.
He has.
There's a few occasions where he does a little lofted pass when it's quite short range, when it's not necessary, and I don't like that. It's been pointed out by a couple of coaches, and I completely agree with it, where he'll do a little lofted chip to a close teammate, and you shouldn't really be doing that because it's going to take longer for that to get to the player, and then you're going to have to bring it down to control it. So you're going to give the pressing player less time to get less time to get to you. That you're going to get closed down quicker. Whoever Bruno's giving the ball to, he did it against Fulham, and there were a couple of moments he did it against Man City. It's little strange. Again, it's the Brazilian kind of way, isn't it? There are some bad habits in their game, and I would much prefer him on occasion though to just play it across the floor, zip it quick, get it into the feet of your teammate, so they can take that touch more comfortably and carry on. So, but yeah, I don't know why I'm criticizing him. He was a 9. He was fantastic. It's just a little habit I've noticed that I don't like when he does it.
However, think, Alex, that the inclusion of a certain midfielder yesterday takes a lot of pressure off Bruno. And Sandro Tonali.
Yeah, well, it's everything we've talked about, isn't it? We've tried to dissect what we need in this midfield to give us a little bit more control. Stop us being absolutely pants at defensive transitions. Give us a bit more pace, a little bit more technical quality, and that essentially is just us describing Tonali and what Tonali brings. Yeah, it's Sandro. We had a missing puzzle piece in the 11, and we had him on the bench. It's Sandro Tonali. He just obviously wasn't fit enough. He looks like he's probably going to be fit enough now. So yeah,
I mean, there was a moment. In the flesh, Alex. He's a beast. He's a beast. I'm not trying to be sort of
he'll fight everyone
sexual here, but his thighs, Alex, his legs. I mean, the power that man has got, and he's got the upper body strength to go with it. It's incredible.
Yeah, when he plays a 1-2 with somebody, if you're the man if you're the player trying to defend when he receives that pass from the 1-2, good luck trying to win a 50-50 on Tonali, because he's an absolute unit. He's way faster than anybody realizes, way stronger. Everybody thinks he's the quiet, silky passing guy. He's not Andre Pirlo. He's if you put a bit of Gattuso in with Andre Pirlo.
Yeah.
And obviously that's massive.
That is, by the way. Exactly. Yeah.
But he's got that physicality and that aggression that I don't think people give him credit for. We have to talk about in that second half before Foden came on, there was a 10-minute period where Sandro Tonali was unplayable. Nobody could get the ball off him. He basically went to the touchline. He was surrounded. He wanted us to throw.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
He wanted us to throw. They couldn't get the ball off him.
But he's also got the ability to get out of that situation, Alex, with a little pass and a little 1-2s. And
they had to foul him.
Once our players start sort of linking up with that kind of little 1-2s, they don't stand a chance.
He was absolutely.
What are you rating him, Alex?
I will go with an 8.
8.
And I want to give him more, but, we'll be sensible.
Well, I've gone 8.5, but very much for the same reasons, Alex. I think he was quiet the first part of the game, actually. He was not much involved, but then just after that,
I don't think the ball fell to him as much on the right.
No, that's what I mean. He wasn't.
Well, we were bypassing him a lot because of
Yeah.
Murphy's runs on the right. We were bypassing Tonali. Bruno was just playing it straight into the space, or Trippier was playing it straight into the space for Murphy. So Tonali got bypassed a lot. We used him a lot more in the second half, and then he got subbed. So honestly, that is not a great display of what Tonali can do. It's some of it. But when we play a weaker team,
that's against Manchester City, Alex, and just think what he can do. I mean, it's just incredible.
When we get more possession and more,
he's not going to play
control
Manchester City every week. Exactly,
100%.
Okay, let's move on to Joelinton. Now, I've given Joe a 9. And the reason I've given him a 9 is because of his work rate yesterday. Joelinton has took a lot of criticism from us, from a lot of Newcastle fans this season, and yesterday, he ran his socks off for Newcastle United. He was all over the place. And listen, going back, people have mentioned it already, going back into a defensive 5 sometimes and helping out with Lewis Hall. He was a monster, an absolute beast. And yes, there was a couple of times that whether he got a shout or he didn't get a shout and somebody nicked the ball off him, fine. But his overall performance yesterday, that's exactly what we need from the kind of player Joelinton is. And we need to remember, he was against Manchester City yesterday and put in a beast performance. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm giving him a 9 for that. Because if he plays like that for the rest of the season, he's going to be an absolute star again. Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 9. I'm going to rate him higher than Tonali because of the fact he had to do multi-positional stuff and have to think about so much. Because we think about Joelinton as just a brute. He had to be so aware of everything positionally in the game state and where everybody was. Was Bernardo Silva hugging the touchline? Have they adapted? Where's Lewis Hall currently? Are we breaking? Where do I need to now go? There's so much that he had to think about. And I think he gets the extra point from me. I think it was probably an 8 because of some of the missed passes, the misplaced pass, not under-hit passes, and a couple of situations where he wasn't aware of players near him. Yeah, he needs to hopefully get a bit better with that because it wasn't great. But because of the positional stuff, I'm going with a 9 because he had to. Tonali had a role, and it was a kind of a one-size-fits-all role. Joelinton had to think about so much more. We didn't concede down that side. I think he deserves high praise for that. And I think people have really got to lay off him with he's next to Bruno and Tonali. Yeah. Some of his under-hit passes are going to be really noticeable next to them. It's like exactly. Because of who he's with. Like that's why Longstaff looks the same. I know we're going to come to Longstaff.
Oh, we'll come to him. We'll come to him
with his one misplaced pass, but Joelinton does similar, and it is what it is.
Not just one misplaced, mate. Come on. It doesn't matter what I rate the players. Abs will always have something to say. How can Paul make Bruno our lowest scoring midfielder? Is puzzling. It doesn't matter what I rate the players. I will always get criticism from Abs. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Kari has been a member of the channel for 32 months. Kari, thank you very much for your support. Much appreciated. I think Haaland has to be a Toon supporter, says Kari. It's a terrible record against us. Anyway, Jacob Murphy, Alex.
Ooh, funny one, because I had a controversial tweet about this, and a lot of people were really umming and ahhing about whether he was good or not. I think for who Jacob Murphy is, that was fantastic from him. There were 3 occasions where he ran like 65 yards. He nutmegged people. He took on 3 players. He got it all the way to the byline.
The one I got really pissed with him, Alex, was in the second half when he was bursting through and he should have played Gordon in, and instead he went across to Barnes. It was the wrong pass.
At least he tried to pass. But he's Murphy.
He did. But that's what Murphy. I mean. That's the difference in just lacking that extra bit of quality, if you know what I mean. Nothing to do with his work rate.
Yeah, well, if he had that extra bit, he would be a 15 goals and assists per season guy,
he
would
would
be rated 50, 60 mil, and we wouldn't be looking for another winger. He's not that guy, but I appreciate what he did yesterday. And he, not only did he, so there were like 2 or 3 occasions where we wanted him to run to relieve the pressure. Not only did he run and relieve the pressure, he got us like really decent chances as well.
Yeah.
And I loved the plan. I think it was, and Pep specifically name dropped him in his post-match press conference.
He did.
Pep specifically talked about Murphy when he was talking about Gordon and Barnes as well, about the pressing intensity and having to deal with them. And that was the game plan. And I thought he did it well. Like, fine, his crosses weren't spot on. There was one situation
some people
where he
really need to,
box.
and nobody was there to tap it in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Gordon set up as though there was going to be a striker, and then he was like, "Oh God, that's meant to be me," and he wasn't in there. Yeah, he was doing a Harry Kane, just being nowhere in the box. But yeah, I haven't even given him a number. I'm going to go with a 7 because if there'd have been a just one better decision in any of those situations, we get a goal.
Absolutely.
So it's a shame.
I've given him a 7 as well. But I think people need to realise that Murphy's got a limit. He's not going to be a Gordon or a Tonali, a Bruno, any of that. Murphy is who he is. And listen, nobody can tell me that he didn't work his ass off yesterday either. Some things didn't come off for him, or maybe his decision making was a little bit off. That's probably why me and Alex have gone for a 7. But he did a job yesterday, and we were playing Manchester City, and for Murphy to get a 7, because we've seen times when Murphy just isn't in the game at all. But I think he played his part defensively as well, and his work rate was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But some of the decisions, he could have made better ones.
Do you know what Murphy reminds me of? He reminds me of Dwight Gale in his prime, just for the fact that if Dwight Gale had a little bit more stardust, he would have been a really good Premier League striker. And he was just missing that, whatever it was, he was missing that final bit. And Jacob Murphy, I feel like, is the winger equivalent of that. He's got a good dead ball. He's fast. He's physical. He's experienced. He can play different positions. He's so nearly there, but he's just missing that final polish.
Yeah, I like what Simon says here, Alex, that he'll run through brick walls for the badge. Absolutely. And that's exactly what you get from Jacob. And look, would I rather have him or Miggy in the side? I mean, Miggy can't even get a game now. He can't even get 5 minutes as a substitute these days. So
he was about to get 2 minutes, but then the game ended.
Yeah, the game ended. Yeah,
so was Osula, but
him and Osula was coming on. Yeah, but never mind. Obviously, I think they'll be involved against Wimbledon. But we'll have that. We'll have the Wimbledon preview tomorrow night at 7:00, guys. We'll take a bit of an in-depth look at Wimbledon and see if there's any way that can hurt us. But and then we'll obviously put a Newcastle side together, which that's going to be an interesting one, putting a Newcastle side together for Wimbledon, given that we've got obviously Everton at the weekend. Right, Harvey Barnes. Again, a funny one for me, because Harvey Barnes, for me, worked his arse off yesterday again. He was up and down. He was some things didn't quite work for him, but he was. What I liked about yesterday, Alex, was he was trying to link up with Anthony Gordon a lot, little 1-2s and through the channels and things like that. So the effort was there to make these passes possible and play Gordon in, or Gordon tried to play him in a couple of times, and they were just intercepted or just were overhit or whatever. But Harvey Barnes could have scored in the first 5 minutes if he controlled that ball a little better when it was fired across to him. I don't know if you can remember that, Alex. He took a really heavy touch and went for a shot that was eventually blocked. But had he controlled it, he would have got his shot in. He just took a really heavy touch, but it was very, very early on in the game. But again, Barnes, I'm seeing good things. I like what I see from Harvey Barnes. I like how he's trying to link up with Gordon. If they get that right, again, you've got to think of the opposition. So I've gone with a 7 for Barnes as well, Alex.
Yeah, I'm a 7 for Barnes. I don't think he can get higher than that, because it just didn't drop for him in those areas. Yeah, we went Murphy's side with a lot of our counterattacks and attacks, and to Harvey Barnes's defense, the balls in from Trippier and Murphy weren't adequate for Barnes to get on the end of. So that's not Barnes's fault. He was in the right area. He was very important to how we lined up, the pressing intensity, the physicality. There was a big call out from me at the start of the season that Harvey Barnes needed to get involved in the difficult games, the nitty-gritty, horrible physical games that are hard and you might not win or you're losing. He tended to shy away from them in the previous games that I saw, and he stepped up this season and he got involved. So yeah, I feel like I want to give him more than a 7, but there wasn't enough in it.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with his performance. It was absolutely fine. And can I just mention Sean as well? That's not how you spell Dwight Gale. I'm not saying Murphy and Dwight Gale are the same standard. Go and rewind and listen to what I said again.
Yeah. Right. Finally, we come to Anthony Gordon. Listen, Gordon yesterday, for me, watching it live, and I know the camera doesn't pan on Gordon all the time, obviously, when he hasn't got the ball, but he was trying to make runs. His effort to get the ball was phenomenal yesterday. I mean, we sort of we had a go at his attitude against Fulham. And rightly so, in my opinion. I saw his shoulders drop. I didn't like what I saw. But yesterday, what I saw from Anthony Gordon was complete effort. Just the passion. When he scored, he just released that passion. And the fact that, he made Edison's life a misery yesterday. Just so many times he almost blocked the ball, got the ball from when they were trying to play out. The effort was back. Just brilliant. And that's the Anthony Gordon that we love. I've given him a 9, Alex.
Can you remember what my opinion was on the Gordon saga over the last few weeks?
Well, I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Yeah, well, there's a few people already apologized in the chat.
Yeah,
I've been backing Anthony Gordon for weeks, saying he's young, he's fine, he's probably just disappointed about the Euros, he's getting fit. I don't think there's anything to worry about. And I've been saying that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and I've been getting slated for it. Yeah, I'll cash in my I told you so's now. There is nothing wrong with that boy. He's come out in several interviews and said he's thrilled. He wants to sign a contract. He loves it here.
Yeah,
he was just getting back up to speed.
The interviews with him yesterday were fantastic, weren't they? Before the game,
like the interviews
and then after the game. Yeah,
it's put all of it to bed. It really has put it all to bed. And I thought Anthony Gordon, I mean, in a game like this, suited playing up front. Yeah, to have somebody so tenacious leading the press is fantastic. He got the goal. He won it. He won himself the pen. He bent the run. He got the goal. Yeah, I'll go with a 9. And I know that's mental because I gave Burn a token 10. But I'll go with a 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what else I can say about Anthony Gordon. There is one thing that I have got one more thing to say. I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this. Everybody in the chat as well, get ready for this because I want your opinions. I preferred our balance in this game without Alexander Isak.
Do you know what? I was just going to ask you the same question. I was just about to ask you because I've seen it mentioned a lot. I've seen people saying, and it sounds mental to say
it. It does sound mental.
Did Newcastle have a better balance yesterday? And I have to say they did.
He fights for everything.
I have to say they had a better balance. I know exactly where you're coming from. I was just about to ask you that's weird, that, by the way. I was 100% going to ask you the same question because I got that impression watching the match yesterday. I thought, the closing down of the keeper, the way Gordon links up with the two wide men, we seem to have a better balance. And I never thought I would say that. And a lot of us have said already that maybe we don't play to Alexander Isak's strengths, and that's nothing to do with Isak himself.
I don't think that. No, I don't think that's it. I think Alexander Isak doesn't have strength. I think that's the problem. I've been
not got the pace of Gordon.
Isak. No, well, it's not about the pace. It's about the strength. I've been complaining about Isak all season so far about his lack of being able to just win any duel contested. He just can't win anything. Whether it's on the ground, in the air, he's just losing everything duel-wise. He just gets absolutely eaten up by centre-halves. Unless he gets some space to drive into, he's fine. But if he has to be combative, he really struggles with it. And it's a side of his game that's got to improve because it's not being picked up by channels, journalists. It's awful. It's really bad. And it's no surprise that we put somebody with a bit more tenacity in the 9. And we look a lot better for it because the press is better. All of a sudden, 2 or 3 more balls a game stick up front.
That press
he's not
yesterday
even
that we
tall.
put in against Manchester City was superb yesterday. I haven't seen that all season. I haven't seen that kind of, we were talking about Will, and Eddie was talking about in his press conference about the intensity. When will that return? Well, it returned. And for me, now it's about moving forward and making sure that stays and doesn't dissipate into the background again. I mean, some people are saying, put Isak on the left and Gordon through the middle.
Yeah, but you can't do that with Barnes scoring so much.
I mean, look, could he put him on the right? I don't know. I think, look, we're not saying that Isak's going to stay out the side because that's ludicrous. Of course, he'll play once he's fit again. But it did look a much better balance. But Karia, thank you for your super chat. My friend said Gordon dived in the penalty decisions. Should it be a penalty? Yes, I say. Of course, it was a penalty. No doubt about it. Right, who came on first as substitutes? Have you got that info, Alex? Because I can't remember.
I have, yeah. So they all ended up coming on at the same time. They weren't meant to, but then
the cramp happened at once.
Yeah, everybody just went down with cramp at the same time, and obviously Trippier had to come off, and he was gutted about it. Bless him. So it was Joe Willock, Tino Livramento, and Sean Longstaff came on for Barnes, Trippier, Tonali.
And Longstaff. Okay.
77th minute. So they all got, but we did play to the 97th minute. So they all got a fair amount.
Yeah.
Enough to read.
Right. Well, we'll start off with Tino, Alex.
Start off with Tino. I thought he was okay.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have any issues down that side. Doku was largely dealt with. There wasn't really any space for him to go and exploit. So, Livramento tidy with his passing, 5 out of 5 passes. He won his only aerial duel. I'll go with a 7.
Mm-hmm.
He did well, but he wasn't on long enough to really accrue any better ratings, really. Yeah, 7.
Yeah. Joe Willock, again, I mean, he didn't really get into the game for me. I think he was okay. But again, trying to get into the game at that kind of intensity, it was all about defending, really. I would have liked to have seen him try and bring the ball out a bit more with his pace. I've gone with a 6 for Joe Willock. Alex?
I'll go with a 6 as well. Slightly generous, I think. I was terrified of his defensive positioning.
Yeah.
Joe Willock in front of a back four, it's just terrifying. Like, I remember when Eddie Howe first joined us, he tried a double pivot of Joe Willock and Sean Longstaff, and it was basically just like running through a door made of toilet roll. It was just ridiculous. It's so easy to get through. And Joe Willock was doing the same. When Savinho came on, Savinho was just running constantly at us. And Willock was just kind of floating. I don't think there was enough intensity and positional awareness from Willock defensively. It doesn't have that side to his game, which is probably why Eddie Howe has used him as a winger quite a lot, to be fair to him. He made a few really nice runs down the left that people didn't send the ball for him. I think they should have done, because he could have run it up to the corner.
There was.
And then he did get beaten by Carl Walker for pace, which irritated me, but then has proved the point that Carl Walker is not as old as everyone thinks he is. Joe Willock, when he gets the afterburners on, Joe Willock is super fast. So the fact that Carl Walker matches Joe Willock.
I mean, Walker, I mean, even when you see him live, he's just rapid. He's absolutely rapid. Right, the final player that we're voting for is
Sean
Longstaff, Alex.
I'll go with the 6 as well. I'll go with the same as what I gave Joe Willock. He gave the ball away once. So did everyone else. Gave the ball away once as well. So I can't give him any higher because he should have scored that goal. I'm gutted he didn't score the goal. I mean, the XG for that shot was 0.21. So in theory, you only score 20% of those. But it was at a pivotal moment in the game that could have got us 3 points. It's frustrating.
If that was somebody else, Alex, it was in the back of the net. I'm no doubt about that. If that even felt to Jacob Murphy, that was in the back of the net.
I'm not going to scapegoat Sean. I think he came on and did what he was meant to do, which is just be, again, we said something about Jacob at the start of the show that I'm going to say about Sean. We know his level. He's meant to just come on, shepherd, be reliable, tackle, we don't need him to be Tonali. We've got Tonali. Let's just let Sean be that rotation and to help when we've got tired legs. Let's stop demanding so much from Sean. He is what he is. I'm just going to give him a 6.
There was actually twice you gave it away, Alex, but I'm not. I mean, listen, it is what it
twice?
is. Yeah.
I mean, he misplaced one pass officially, but maybe did he get dispossessed?
Yeah,
is his possession lost 1 and passes 2 out of 3?
I've gone for a 4, Alex. Yeah.
Why so much lower than Willett?
Because he just scares me, Alex. I mean, the times that giveaway was absolutely nonsense. What is he actually doing? That could have led to a goal yesterday. And it put us in, we had a chance to clear the ball and he just passes it straight to a blue shirt. And you're thinking, what the holy shit was that?
For argument's sake, though, right? So last game, Tonali got subbed on late, lost the ball right next to our box. It's indicative of somebody who's come on late on in a game, who's not up to speed, and maybe hasn't read the situation properly. Tonali did exactly the same last game as a sub.
Longstaff is
because his name's not Longstaff.
It's too long in the tooth now, Alex.
He misplaces one pass. He does get
I'm going to stick up for Tonali and say, well, he hasn't played much Premier League football in a while, and I'll give him a couple of errors. But Longstaff has been a mainstay for God knows how long and is still making schoolboy errors like that, which could cost you the football game. But anyway.
I mean, Bruno did that last game as well against Fulham. I feel like we've been so harsh on Sean here. Bruno cost us a goal last game. Tonali did exactly the same, giving up the ball next to our box last game. But we're absolutely crucifying Sean for exactly the same thing that didn't lead to a goal or any shot.
We didn't get your player ratings last week, Alex, because obviously you weren't on the show. But we gave Bruno 2.5 and a 3 last week. Tonali,
I'll have to give you my rating.
Got 2 5s. So we did punish these players for making errors. I mean, look, it was night and day from the Fulham game. Let's move on to the manager, Eddie Howe, Alex. Finally,
can I just say to Kevin, don't call me Alec. I'm not Scottish. And secondly, I'm not wrong. I've literally just if you think I'm wrong, tell me how you think I'm wrong. It's not black or white. You
can't just say somebody's wrong. You have to back up your point.
I've literally just backed up my point by saying the 2 other midfielders have made identical mistakes.
Yeah,
I feel like that's justified.
What about Eddie Howe, Alex?
I mean, he's got to go for a 10, hasn't he? He needs a 10 for this one. I think purely for the amount of improvements it's in a week. Because, I mean, we opened the show with our... I mean, there weren't as many people at the start of the show. But, things like the corners, defensive transitions, less panicky, intensity. There were so many things he fixed. Whether it was him or a bit of the players, a bit of Jason as well, a combination of everybody pulling in the same direction. Eddie deserves a 10 for getting a tune out of everybody, for a good, solid game plan. And I know it was a draw and it was probably a fair draw, but I do think we had enough to win that game. I think they were lucky we didn't get the 3 points. I think all of the headlines from Sky and Match of the Day and all the news articles have been champions drop points and they fail to hold the lead at St. James's Park. I think that does us dirty. I think we were good for the 3 points in that game. I think we were the better team over the 90 minutes and had the better chances. So I think they were very fortunate to get away with the point, City were.
Well, I've gone for a 9. I think if we'd won, I would have given him a 10, but I thought it was much better considering last week we scored him 3.5 and a 1. So you can see improvements all round. So I like the substitutions when they came. I think he was forced into them because of the injuries, but I think, the substitutions he made were sensible ones. I just thought everything was much more balanced yesterday. And the manager made some brave decisions. He threw Tonali in, Gordon up front and things like that. I know people say, oh, well, he had to play Gordon up front. He didn't. He could have done a Sula. I mean, that was probably never going to happen. But you know what I'm saying? He did make, the Lewis Hall one. He's obviously put lots of stuff in about Lloyd Kelly and certain games he plays Kelly. But for me, took a risk playing Lewis Hall. That paid off 1,000,000% as well. So there you go. Right, let's take a look at the viewers' man of the match. Who do you think it is, Alex?
I mean, surely Gordon, because he got the goal and just the intensity, I think just gets him man of the match.
It doesn't.
No, all on wrong.
Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall is man of the match with 43% of the votes. In a close second is Anthony Gordon on 39%. Then comes Dan Burn on 13 and Bruno on 5. So clear winners in Lewis Hall and Anthony Gordon. But that just says, Alex, how good the game was when you get man of the match close, very close like that.
Yeah, that's really divided. That's interesting. Yeah, Lewis Hall, I think for his age and he's had quite a shaky start to the season because he looked absolutely fantastic in preseason. Shaky start to this season, and then I think it looks like he's up to 100% match sharpness now. He's able to run the full 90 against one of the best teams, well, the best team in the country. And he was a lot tidier with his passing, tidier with his positioning, a little bit quicker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he basically fixed everything that was an issue last time.
Yeah,
and a lot of people wanted Kelly. I think a lot of the predictions had got Kelly in this starting 11, just for defensive solidity. And he's obviously gone with Lewis Hall, which is lovely because this time 6 months ago, 12 months ago, he wasn't getting a look in an easy game or a hard game. So now that Lewis Hall gets the nod in this kind of caliber,
the last time he started was obviously Wolves away, and we all gave him 5s and 5.5s. And now he's gone to man of the match, and we've given him an 8 and a 9 tonight as well. So well done, Samsonite Dove. Thank you for your super chat. Did Howe stumble on our ideal midfield lineup with Bruno in front of Tonali, Joelinton pivot? I don't think he stumbled on it. I think for me, Bruno. I think Tonali plays that position better because of the bulk and the sheer tenacity of him. I know Bruno's got tenacity, but Bruno. We want to see Bruno on the ball and creating opportunities, and I think that both of them can do that. I think one of them can sit if the other one goes. It's exciting.
He didn't stumble on anything either. Well, because Willock and Sean are available and fit, so he didn't stumble on anything. And we used a variation of what Joelinton did with Elliot Anderson versus Spurs last season. So he's done something similar to this before. And then Tonali, obviously, that is just his best sort of position on the pitch to be playing. So he's not stumbled upon it, but no, definitely not.
Yes, Chippers, there will be a press conference show in the morning, of course, 11 a.m. If Billy's woke up by then, hopefully
I'm in Liverpool tomorrow.
But that will be 11, and then 7 o'clock tomorrow night we'll have the Wimbledon preview. So we'll bring you all the latest news and obviously take a look at Wimbledon as well, and see what Newcastle United might put out as a team. On Tuesday night, of course, it's the watch along with me and Billy. I will be at home for that game. Obviously, with Susan being poorly, I won't be going to the game on Tuesday night. So I will be doing the commentary from home. So join us for that as well, and hopefully see us into the next round to face Chelsea, who are on fire right now. And especially a certain Cole Palmer. But thank you very much for watching a later episode, yet over 1,300 in tonight across X and YouTube. Thank you so much for spending an hour and a bit with us tonight. We really do appreciate it. As usual, please do give it the thumbs up if you've enjoyed the show, and of course subscribe if you're new and you like what you see. Remember to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show. Keep voting for us in the Football Content Awards. That is still pinned at the top of every description. It's not there right now because I forgot, because I set the show up quite quickly tonight. But it is on previous shows if you want to go and click on that link and keep voting for us. And of course, join us on socials. We're all on Twitter or X, Toon Reviews on Instagram. We do have a Facebook group, of course. So if you're on Facebook, look for the Toon Review and join that group on there. Just accept the terms and conditions, and one of the mods or myself will bring you in. Almost at 4,000, I think, that group. So it's going really well there on Facebook. So thank you, everybody, for joining that. But there you go. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, folks. And a brand new week starts tomorrow. The build up to Wimbledon and then Everton away. It's going to be a cracking one. And hopefully you'll join us for all the live shows that we will bring you. But in the meantime, good night.
Away the lads and lasses.
Come back and check on some breathing.
Ah!